Welcome everyone to Tech Talk Central. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're tackling 4K video editing. Specifically, we're looking at two laptops that seem to be on everyone's radar, the MacBook Pro with the new M3 Max chip and the ASUS ProArt P16.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's trying to figure out which one reigns supreme for serious video work.
Exactly, and we're going to try to help you do just that. We've got all the specs in front of us, plus some intriguing early user feedback to dig into. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first, a quick overview of our contenders. In this corner, we have the MacBook Pro, the 16.2-inch model with that Liquid Retina XDR display. It's packing Apple's latest and greatest, the M3 Max chip. And we're talking the 16-core CPU, 40-core GPU version here, folks.
Yeah, that's the one to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And of course, it's loaded with 48 GB of unified memory and a 1 TB SSD. Now, facing off against the Mac, we've got the ASUS ProArt P16. This one's sporting a 16-inch AMOLED 4K touchscreen, which is pretty tempting. And under the hood, it's running the AMD Ryzen AI9 HX370 processor. 12 cores of power right there.
And don't forget, it comes with 32 GB of LPDDR5X RAM, a 1 TB PCIe NVMe SSD, and to top it all off, a dedicated NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 with 8 GB of GDDR6 memory.
Oh, yeah. That dedicated GPU is a serious contender for sure. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to figure out which of these beasts is the better choice for all you 4K video editing wizards out there.
Sounds like a plan. Where do we start?
Well, I think the heart of any good video editing machine is its processing power, so let's start with the brains of the operation. The MacBook Pro's M3 Max chip is a pretty remarkable piece of engineering. That 16-core CPU is split into 12 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, so it can adapt to whatever you're throwing at it. And that 40-core GPU, well, that's not just for fancy graphics.
It's got dedicated hardware for ray tracing too, right?
You got it, which could be a game changer for certain visual effects workflows. Plus, it has a whopping 300 gigabytes of memory bandwidth.
That's impressive. But the ASUS ProArt P16 isn't slouching in the CPU department either. It's got that AMD Ryzen AI9 HX370, and with a boost clock speed up to 5.1 gigahertz, it can really crank things up when needed.
True, true. And we can't forget about those integrated Ryzen AI capabilities. Video editing software might be able to tap into that for some really cool stuff down the road, like intelligent upscaling or object tracking.
Yeah. Who knows what the future holds there. But for now, I think what's really interesting is how these machines handle memory. The MacBook Pro with its unified memory architecture is pretty unique. It's like having this huge, super fast pool of memory that both the CPU and GPU can access instantly. No more waiting around for data to be transferred back and forth.
Right, it's all about efficiency. Whereas the ASUS, it uses a more traditional setup, right, with separate pools of memory for the GPU and the system RAM.
Exactly. Now, both approaches have their pros and cons, but that difference in memory architecture can definitely have an impact on how smoothly each system handles those massive 4K video files.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked processing power, but let's move on to something equally crucial for video editing: graphics. The MacBook Pro's 40-core GPU in the M3 Max seems more than capable of handling even the most demanding 4K projects.
Oh, for sure. But the ASUS ProArt P16 comes with a dedicated NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060, and it's packing 8 GB of its own super-fast GDDR6 memory.
Now this is where things get really interesting for a lot of video editors out there.
Definitely. You see, having a dedicated NVIDIA GPU can be a huge advantage when it comes to certain video editing software. A lot of popular programs are optimized to take advantage of NVIDIA's hardware acceleration features, like NDENC for video encoding. Basically, NVNC is a dedicated engine that can dramatically speed up your video exports compared to relying solely on the CPU.
Wow, so we're talking potentially much faster turnaround times.
Exactly. And it depends on the specific software and codecs you're working with, but that speed difference can be significant. Plus, some software might offer exclusive features or just better overall compatibility with an NVIDIA card.
Okay, so that's definitely something to consider. Now let's talk about the screens themselves, the ones we'll be staring at for hours on end. The MacBook Pro has that beautiful 16.2-inch Liquid Retina XDR display. And that XDR, that stands for Extreme Dynamic Range, which means it can display some seriously bright highlights and deep, deep blacks.
Especially with HDR content, right?
Yeah, it can sustain 1,000 nits of brightness for HDR. And even for regular SDR content, it still looks fantastic at up to 600 nits. Plus, the resolution is a crisp 3456 by 2034 pixels.
Pretty impressive. But the ASUS ProArt P16 has that 16-inch AMOLED 4K display, and that means a resolution of 3840 by 2400, so a few more pixels than MacBook Pro.
Oh, interesting. And it's a touch screen too, right?
That's right. So what does all this mean for video editors? Well, both displays are top of the line, but they use different technologies, each with its own strengths. Liquid Retina XDR is a type of mini LED display, which means it has thousands of tiny LEDs that can be individually controlled. That gives you incredible contrast and brightness, making it perfect for viewing HDR footage accurately.
It's all about those details, huh?
Exactly. AMOLED displays, on the other hand, are known for their perfect blacks because each pixel can completely switch off. They also tend to have really vibrant, saturated colors. Now, that slightly higher 4K resolution on the ASUS could be helpful for really scrutinizing fine details in 4K footage. And of course, that touchscreen functionality adds a whole other layer of interactivity that some editors might find really useful, depending on their workflow.
Yeah, I can see how that would come in handy for certain tasks. Now let's move on to memory and storage. The MacBook Pro comes with a generous 48 GB of unified memory, all right there on the same chip as the CPU and GPU. And it's paired with a fast 1 TB SSD.
Yeah, we talked about that unified memory architecture earlier and how it allows for super fast data transfer between components.
Exactly. Now, the ASUS ProArt P16 has 32 GB of onboard LPDDR5X RAM, which is still plenty for video editing, especially since LPDDR5X is faster and more power efficient than previous generations of RAM. And it also comes with a 1 TB PCIe NVMe SSD.
Now, here's something to think about. While 32 GB of RAM is great, that 48 GB of unified memory in the MacBook Pro, combined with its unique architecture, could give it an edge when you're working with really huge, complex 4K projects, or if you're doing a lot of multitasking with demanding applications. That high bandwidth unified memory can really help prevent bottlenecks.
Bottlenecks. Nobody wants those.
Nope, not at all. And in terms of storage, both laptops offer that 1 TB NVMe SSD, which is essential for the fast read and write speeds you need when dealing with large video files.
Okay, so we've covered processing, graphics, displays, and memory, but let's not forget about connectivity. For video editors, having the right ports is crucial. The MacBook Pro comes with a MagSafe charging port, 3 Thunderbolt 4 USB 4 ports, an SDXC card slot, an HDMI port, and a headphone jack.
Yeah, that's a pretty good selection. And the ASUS ProArt P16 has an HDMI port, a Thunderbolt 4 port, a USB 3.2 Type-C port, an SD card reader, and a headphone microphone combo jack. Plus, it comes bundled with a DKZ USB port expander, which can be really helpful if you need more connectivity options.
Oh, that's a nice bonus. So when it comes to ports, I guess it really depends on your specific workflow and what kind of peripherals you use.
Exactly. Both laptops offer that high-speed Thunderbolt 4 connectivity, which is great for connecting fast external drives and high-resolution displays. The MacBook Pro gives you 2 extra Thunderbolt ports and that dedicated SDXC card slot, which can be a real time saver for a lot of video pros. But if you have a lot of USB-A peripherals, that USB port expander with the ASUS could come in really handy.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but before we wrap things up, let's see what users are saying about these laptops. The MacBook Pro has received tons of positive feedback. It's averaging 4.8 out of 5 stars from a lot of ratings, which is pretty impressive. Users are consistently praising its speed and smooth performance, even when handling demanding tasks. They're also raving about the display quality, calling it amazing, and highlighting its vibrant colors.
Yeah, I've seen those reviews. Some users are even saying the battery life is amazing, claiming they can get almost a week on a single charge if they're just doing light work.
Wow, a week. That's incredible. And it seems like people really appreciate the seamless integration with other Apple devices and the overall ease of use. Plus, they love the speakers, saying the sound quality is excellent. Now, opinions on the weight are a bit mixed. Some people find it manageable for travel, while others say it's a bit on the heavy side.
Yeah, that's always a trade-off with powerful laptops.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the price. Some people feel it's worth the investment, while others think it's a bit expensive.
True, true. But here's what's really important for us. One user specifically mentioned how fast the MacBook Pro is at exporting videos. And that's a big deal for anyone working with 4K footage.
Absolutely. That kind of real-world feedback is invaluable. It really reinforces what we've been talking about with the M3 Max chip's performance and that amazing display.
Yeah, it's great to see those specs translate into real-world benefits. Now, for the ASUS ProArt P16, we have significantly less user feedback. Just a single rating so far, giving it a perfect 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, not a lot to go on there. But that one review does call it a fantastic beast of a machine and describes it as fast smooth.
So very positive, but just one data point.
Exactly. While that initial feedback is encouraging, especially the mention of speed and smoothness, which are crucial for a good video editing experience, it's hard to draw any firm conclusions without more user input. We need to see how it performs over the long term and how it handles different 4K editing workloads in real-world scenarios.
Agreed. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the key differences between these two laptops. First off, the core processing architecture is different. We've got Apple's unified M3 Max system on one side and a more traditional setup with the AMD Ryzen AI 9, HX370, and separate RAM on the other. Then there's the graphics. The MacBook Pro relies on its integrated GPU, while the ASUS boasts a dedicated NVIDIA RTX 4060.
And of course, the displays use different technologies. The Mac has that Liquid Retina XDR display, which is a type of mini LED, and the Asus has an AMOLED 4K touchscreen.
Plus, the memory configurations are different. 48 GB of unified memory on the MacBook Pro versus 32 GB of LPDR5X RAM on the Asus. And of course, they run on different operating systems. Mac OS on the Mac and Windows 11 Pro on the Asus.
So, which laptop is better for 4K video editing? Well, the truth is, they're both incredibly capable machines, each with its own strengths. The MacBook Pro has that incredibly powerful and efficient M3 Max chip, that gorgeous XDR display, and a ton of positive user reviews praising its speed and display quality, including those fast video export times.
And the ASUS ProArt P16 has a powerful AMD Ryzen AI processor, a dedicated NVIDIA RTX 4060 GPU, and that tempting AMOLED 4K touchscreen. Plus, that initial user review was very positive, highlighting its speed and smoothness.
So the best choice for you really depends on your individual needs and preferences.
Yeah.
What video editing software do you use? Are you comfortable with macOS or do you prefer Windows? Do you need a touchscreen? These are all things you need to consider.
Exactly. Both laptops can handle demanding 4K video editing tasks, but they approach it in different ways. So, do your research, think about your workflow, and choose the machine that best fits your needs.
And to help you make that decision, be sure to check out the links in the description below for the latest prices and deals.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tech comparisons and insights. We'll see you next time.